romantic love ruining our relationships? Does romance teach us to love in an unrealistic way? Part 1. Are today's alarming divorces caused also by unrealistic expectations of romanticism? Why do you think the divorce rate has increased so much lately? Why do you think romantic relationships today are lasting less and less? Why do you think so many young, beautiful, capable people are single these days, even though they would like so much to be in a loving relationship? Why today's society wants people to be unhappy? Why? Because unhappy people are much more consumerist than happy people. For the billionaires that rule this world, for their companies, it's all about money and only money. What does consumerism have to do with romantic relationships? If you'll stay till the end of this video, you will find out the answer to this question and many other interesting things about the romanticism that is idealized too much in so many movies, cartoons, music, books, in the whole society. Most psychological and biological research suggests that humans are born with a deep need for love, connection, and attachment. It's considered a fundamental human need, much like food or safety. But when we are born, we don't know how to love. We need kindness, hugs, caressings, but today's society teaches us to love in such a wrong way. If you stay till the end of this video, I will reveal to you what are the mistakes of today's society regarding romantic love and how we can still have a healthy and long-lasting relationship despite the wrong ideals that today's society demands of us. He's Iron Man and we'll have a conversation about his romantic problems. He can solve so many of the human's problems, but even him has problems with his love relationship. For sure, you've had similar problems like Iron Man has. And let's see how can we solve together this type of problems. Why are you looking so sad, Iron Man? Oh, Alice, it's all over. Emma Frost broke up with me. On Valentine's Day, she said I wasn't her soulmate. In the beginning, she told me that she will marry me, so we started to have sex, even if there was not an emotional connection yet. I tried to ask her about having kids together and how we'll manage the money in our marriage, but she said that it is not romantic to speak about these things. In the end, she told me that I am not her soulmate because the relationship with me is not easy and because I could not feel and understand her intuitively when actually she wasn't communicating with me verbally. She broke up with me because of these reasons. Where did I go wrong? Oh, don't be so upset, Iron Man. It's not only your fault. You can blame romanticism. Romanticism? Well, what's that? Romanticism was a movement that started in Europe and spread worldwide. It influenced literature, art, poetry, acting in theater, music, and the way people behaved. Now, going back to your ex-wife, let me take a wild guess. Did you both fall in love at first sight? Well, yes. What's your point? We fell in love at first sight. It's not totally your fault, then. The idea is romantic and it originated from the Romantic era. It was part of the zeitgeist. And many of these ideas still continue today. Zeitgeist? The word comes from German and literally means the spirit of the time. You're right, Iron Man. A lot of what we believe about love today, for example, the idea that two people will live happily ever after, comes from the Romantic period. But everyone loves a bit of romance, even me, Iron Man. Well, it's true. However, it's one thing to enjoy romance, but it can be dangerous to judge your relationship only according to the romantic ideals. Do not believe that your relationship should follow all the characteristics of the romantic egregore. And if you are not achieving all the romantic standards, then your love relationship is a failure. Do not believe that, please, Iron Man. I have to admit that you are right. It might not be a realistic standard from which other things are judged. So we grew up hearing these romantic stories, watching these romantic cartoons, watching these romantic movies, which leads us to develop an idea of what a relationship is meant to be. It should be accordingly to the mass media, and then we get disappointed by what happens in real relationships after 2 or 3 years from the beginning, or even after 2 or 3 months. Well, to put it bluntly, yes, you are right, Iron Man. The romantic ideal is just that, an idealized version or perfect version of a relationship, but it often leaves out the practical details. Details like work, stress, children, all of the things that we have to deal with in everyday life are not covered by romanticism. Not to mention the fact that everyone is flawed or imperfect in their own way. That means we get angry or moody or upset for all sorts of reasons. Exactly. Many popular love stories end exactly at the point where the characters get together or marry. But very few show us how to keep that someone special over a long period of time. A relationship is hard, and it's hard work. And if the relationship you are in is not as perfect as the story, as the cartoon, as the romantic movies said it should be, then maybe you're with the wrong person, which could explain why so many marriages end in divorce. This is how we think nowadays, right? I wonder if that's true for other people's relationships. Fortunately, I found some people and some of my clients with partners, and I asked them, is your partner 100% perfect for you? Most people's answers was, no, not 100%. Does that mean true love doesn't exist? No, it just means that all relationships must be worked on, and that perfection in love relationships is impossible. But we should never give up trying. You're right. She wasn't the one for me. I need to find my next Juliet, and she'll be just perfect for a Romeo like me. Oh, Iron Man, you haven't learned anything. You're just a hopeless romantic. I have to leave. I have a new mission to accomplish. But Iron Man, I can help you to have a fulfilled love relationship. Can you stay more? I'll subscribe to your YouTube channel and we'll have a video conversation. We'll have a psychological meeting through a video call. Good idea, Iron Man. Goodbye, Iron Man. But you, my audience, stay till the end of this video, because I'll give you practical solutions to the problem of romanticism, to the problem that you are failing in your relationships because your romantic fantasies are not transformed into reality. When love goes wrong, nothing goes right. When love goes wrong, Alice is the key of your relationship. And before going deeper into today's subject, I want to tell you that I am Alice, dating and relationship coach, and that the YouTube report showed me that over 65% of the viewers of this channel are not yet my subscribers. And this news made me very sad. So please, do me a favor and push right now the subscribe button. If you watched in the past my YouTube videos and my suggestions helped you, then please push right now the subscribe button, like and share my videos to people who might benefit from my message. Doing like this, you can make this channel grow. So I am counting on your help, and thank you for pushing right now the subscribe button. Stay till the end of this video, because at the end of this video, I'll give you practical advices, an extremely important bonus about why romantic love is ruining our relationships. Now, let's go on and talk about today's subject, romantic love. All humans are born with the need to be loved. What do you think? Yes. Most psychological and biological research suggests that humans are born with a deep need for love, connection, and attachment. It's considered a fundamental human need, much like food or safety. 1. Biological and evolutionary basis. Human babies are among the most dependent newborns in the animal kingdom. Because survival depends on caregivers, evolution favored infants who seek closeness, comfort, and bonding. Newborns instinctively cry, cling, and respond to touch and voice. Physical affection like holding and skin-to-skin contact regulates heart rate, stress, hormones, and brain development. This suggests the drive for love and attachment is built into our biology. 2. Attachment theory. Psychologist John Bowlby developed attachment theory, arguing that humans are born with a system that motivates them to form strong emotional bonds with caregivers. Later research by Mary Ainsworth showed that the quality of early love and care shapes how people form relationships later in life. The main attachment styles are secure, anxious, avoidant, disorganized. 3. Psychological needs. In Abraham Maslow's famous pyramid of needs, love and belonging sit right after basic survival and safety. This includes friendship, family bonds, romantic intimacy, social acceptance. Without some form of connection, people often experience loneliness, anxiety, depression, and reduced well-being. 4. But it doesn't always look the same. So, the need is universal, but how people experience or express this need can vary from people to people. Some people crave closeness openly. Others hide the need due to past hurt or trauma. Some satisfy it through friendships, community, pets, or purpose rather than romance. So the short answer is yes, humans are generally born with a built-in need for love and connection, but how that need is expressed, fulfilled, or suppressed can differ greatly from one person to another person. Now, another important question. Do people need romantic love specifically or just connection? Short answer. People fundamentally need connection. Romantic love is not the only possibility to fulfill that need. Not everyone needs romantic love to live a psychologically healthy and meaningful life. 1. The most important need is connection after survival needs. Humans are social beings. What most psychological theories emphasize is the need for emotional closeness, belonging, being understood, mutual care, and support. This can come from many sources: family, friendships, community, mentorship, or even deep companionship with Facts! Research in social psychology shows that strong social bonds of any type are linked to better mental health, longevity, and life satisfaction. 2. Romantic love is a special form of connection. Romantic relationships combine several elements at once: emotional intimacy, physical affection, commitment, shared life goals, similar values, and moral principles. Because of this combination, romantic partners often become someone's primary attachment figure in adulthood. But that doesn't mean it's the only healthy arrangement. 3. Some people genuinely don't need romantic love. Many people live fulfilled lives without romantic relationships. A. Lifelong single individuals live like this. People focus on friendships or family bonds. People who identify as aromantic or non-romantic. For them, deep relationships or community ties provide the emotional connection others find in romantic relationships. 4. The problem is often loneliness, not lack of romance. Psychologically, the biggest risk factor isn't being single, it's chronic loneliness. Someone can be single but socially connected, and this person can be usually healthy and happy. Other people can be in a romantic relationship but emotionally lonely, and this is often distressing. So, romance alone doesn't guarantee the need is met. 5. Cultural expectations complicate things sometimes. Many societies treat romantic love as the ultimate form of connection, which can make people feel something is missing if they don't have it. But anthropologists note that community, kinship, and friendships were connecting in a similar way like romantic love. Conclusion: humans need meaningful connection and belonging. Romantic love can fulfill that need for many people, but is not biologically or psychologically required for everyone.
Alice is the key of your relationship. She's the one who makes your heart just skip. In her eyes you see your world unfold. With her touch your story's always told.
Now let's discuss about the brief history of romance. First fact: at some point during evolution between plankton and the romantic songs of Duran Duran or Depeche Mode, apes evolved the ability to become emotionally attached to one another. This emotional attachment would eventually come to be known as love, and evolution would one day produce so many singers who would make millions writing love songs, as the writer Mark Manson said. Second fact: humans evolved the ability to become attached to each other. That is, the ability to love each other, because it helped us survive. This isn't exactly romantic or sexy, but it's true. We didn't evolve big fangs or huge claws or insane gorilla strength. Instead, we evolved the ability to emotionally bond into communities and families where we became largely inclined to cooperate with one another. These communities and families turned out to be far more effective than any claw or any fang. Humanity soon dominated the planet. Without developing emotional attachments to one another, we probably all would have been eaten by tigers at some point. Third fact: As humans, we instinctively develop loyalty and affection for those who show us the most loyalty and affection. This is all love really is. An irrational degree of loyalty and affection for another person to the point that we'd let ourselves come to harm or even die for that person. It may sound insane, but it's these symbiotic warm fuzzies that kept the species relying on one another long enough to survive the savannas and populate the planet and invent Netflix. Fourth fact. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato argued that the highest form of love was actually this non-sexual, non-romantic form of attachment to another person, this so-called brotherly love or sisterly love. Plato reasoned correctly that since passion and romance and sex often make us do ridiculous things that we regret, this sort of passionless love between two family members or between two close friends was the height of virtuous human experience, as Plato said. In fact, Plato, like most people in the ancient world, looked upon romantic love with skepticism, if not absolute horror. Fifth fact. As with most things, Plato got it right before anybody else did. And this is why non-sexual love is often referred to as platonic love. Sixth fact. For most of human history, romantic love was looked upon as a kind of sickness. And if you think about it, it's not hard to figure out why. Romantic love causes people, especially young people, to do some stupid things. Trust me. Once, when I was 16, during Christmas period, I jumped out of my house through the window of my own room. My house was high and I risked breaking my legs, but I did it for love. Then I walked about 30 minutes in the cold weather and knocked on the window of the boy who had told me that he was madly in love with me. When he saw me at his window, the boy got scared. He said that he couldn't come out because his parents would catch us. And that's how I had to return to my parents' door at night, through the cold weather, just as single as when I went to his house, crying this time. What an idiot I was. Of course I was punished and I wasn't allowed to go out to any party for a whole year, but going to the boy's house seemed like a great idea at that time because it seemed like such a romantic idea. My emotions were going crazy the whole time. I was lost in a fantasy world and loving it. But now it's just sort of an embarrassing thing I did back then, when I was young and dumb and didn't know any better than romance. It's this sort of poor decision making that made the ancients skeptical of romantic love's utility. Instead, many cultures treated it as some sort of unfortunate disease we all have to go through and get over in our lives, kind of like chickenpox. In fact, classic stories like the Iliad or Romeo and Juliet weren't celebrations of love. They were warnings against the potential negative consequences of love, of how romantic love can potentially ruin everything. See, for most of human history, people didn't marry because of their feelings for one another. Feelings didn't matter in the ancient world. Do you know why? Because there are fields to plow and cows to feed, and Mehmet II, Mehmet Fatih, just massacred your entire extended family the next village over and just conquered Constantinople in 1053. There was no time for romance and certainly no tolerance for the risky behaviors it encouraged among people. There was too much life or death work to be accomplished. Marriage was meant for baby making and the safety of finances. Romantic love, if permitted at all, was reserved for the heady realm of mistresses and players, Don Juans. For most of human history, for the majority of humanity, their sustenance and survival hang by a tiny thread. People had shorter life expectations than my mother's dog. Everything you did had to be done for the simple sake of survival. Marriages were arranged by families not because they liked each other, and especially not because they loved each other, but because their farms went together nicely, and the families could share some wheat or barley when the next flood or drought hit. Marriages were a purely economic arrangement designed to promote the survival and prosperity of both extended families. So if Junior wants to run away with the milkmaid across town, this wasn't just an inconvenience. This was a legitimate threat to the community's survival, and it was treated as such. In fact, this kind of behavior was considered to be so dangerous, so perfidious in young men that most Asian societies cut a lot of young boys' sexual organs off so they wouldn't have to deal with their philandering. Ancient societies mutilated a woman's clitoris so that she would no longer feel pleasure. Unfortunately, this clitoral mutilation is still practiced by some people even today, unfortunately. It wasn't until the industrial age that things began to change. People began to take up work in city centers and factories. Their income and thus their economic future was no longer tied to the land, and they were able to make money independent of their family. They didn't have to rely on inherencies or family connections the way people did in the ancient world. And so the economic and political components of marriage ceased to make much sense. Back in the olden days, marriage was seen as a duty, not something you did for personal fulfillment or emotional pleasure. The new economic realities of the 19th century then cross-pollinated with the ideas that emerged from the Enlightenment about individual rights and the pursuit of happiness, and the result was a full-blown age of romanticism. Damn the cattle! It was the 18th century and people's feelings suddenly mattered. The new ideal was not only to marry for love, but that love was to live on in bliss for all of the eternity. Thus, it wasn't until the relatively recent 150 years ago that the ever-popular happily ever after ideal was born. Then, the 20th century rolled around, and in between Hitler and a few genocides, Hollywood and advertisement agencies grabbed hold of the happily ever after fantasy and beat it to death over the next 100 years. The point here is that romance and all of the weight we tend to put on it is a modern invention. So romance is a modern invention, and primarily promoted and marketed by a bunch of businessmen who realized it will get you to pay for movie tickets and a big new bag or a new car. As Don Draper once said, what you call love was invented by guys like me to sell nylons. It wasn't until people became economically independent that love became valued in society. Romance is an easy sell. We all enjoy seeing the hero get the girl. We all enjoy seeing the happy ending. We enjoy believing in happily ever after. It feels good. And so the commercial forces that arose in the 20th century took it and ran with it. But romantic love and love in general is far more complicated than we've been led to believe by Hollywood movies or perfume store ads. Nowhere do we hear that love can be unsexy, monotonous, or that love can sometimes be unpleasant or even painful, that it could potentially even be something we don't want to feel at times, or that love requires self-discipline and a certain amount of sustained effort over the course of years, decades, a lifetime. These truths are not exciting, nor do they sell well. The painful truth about love is that the real work of a relationship begins after the curtain closes and the credits roll. The real work of a relationship is all the boring, dreary, unsexy things that nobody else sees or appreciates. Like most things in the media, the portrayal of love in pop culture is limited to the highlight reel. All the nuances and complexities of actually living through a relationship is swept away to make room for the exciting headline, the unjust separation, the crazy plot twist, and of course everyone's favorite happy ending. Most of us have been so inundated by these messages throughout our entire lives that we have come to mistake the excitement and drama of romance for the whole relationship itself. When we are swept up by romance, we can't imagine that anything could possibly go wrong between us and our partner. We can't see their faults or failures. All we see is their limitless potential and possibility in the beginning. This is not love. This is a delusion. And like most delusions, things usually don't end well. Which brings me to the seventh fact. Just because you love somebody doesn't mean you should be with them. It's possible to fall in love with somebody who doesn't treat us well, who makes us feel worse about ourselves, who doesn't hold the same respect for us as we do for them, or who has such a dysfunctional life themselves that they threaten to pull us underwater until we're drowned in their loving arms. It's possible to fall in love with somebody who has different ambitions or life goals that are contradictory to our own, who holds different philosophical beliefs or worldviews, or whose life path merely weaves in the opposite direction at an inopportune time. It's possible to fall in love with somebody who sucks for us and for our happiness. This is why throughout most of human history, marriage was arranged by parents, because they were the ones with experience, with some objective perspective on whether their kid was marrying a jerk face or not. But in the past few centuries, since young people were able to choose their partners themselves, which is a good thing, they instinctively overestimated love's ability to overcome whatever issues or problems were present in their relationships, which is a bad thing. I do not recommend that nowadays our parents choose those we will marry with, but we should still listen to our parents' advice and not let romanticism be the only criterion by which we choose our life partner or spouse. This is the definition of a toxic or unhealthy relationship. People who don't love each other for the person they are, but rather love each other in hopes that their feelings for each other will fill some horribly empty hole in their soul. Eighth fact. With greater personal freedom comes a greater requirement for personal responsibility and understanding. And it's 150 years later, and we're just now gaining the ability to grapple with the responsibilities love brings with it. People in toxic relationships don't love each other. They love the idea of each other. They're in love with the fantasy that is constantly playing out in their head. And instead of ditching the fantasy and getting with the person in front of them, they spend all of their will and energy interpreting and conforming the person in front of them to feed the fantasy they keep spinning for themselves. And why? Because they don't know any better, or they're afraid of the vulnerability required to love someone selflessly and healthily. A few centuries ago, people hated romantic love. They were afraid of it, skeptical of its power, and wary of its ability to tilt everyone it touched into making bad choices. A couple centuries ago, free from the confines of the farm and mom and dad's approving or disapproving hand, people then overestimated love. They idealized it and willed it to wash away all of their problems and pain forever. But people are just now starting to figure out that while love is great, and it is, that by itself, love is not enough. That love should not be the cause of your relationships, but rather their effects. That love should not define our lives, but rather be a byproduct of it. That just because someone makes you feel more alive doesn't mean that you should necessarily live for them. Nobody talks about the fact that greater personal freedom grants greater opportunities to destroy things. And it creates greater opportunities to hurt other people. The great liberation of romantic love has brought incredible life experiences into the world. But it's also brought the necessity for a realistic, honest approach to relationships that accommodates the painful realities of spending a life together. Some people say in this age of ghosting and swipe right that romance is dead. Romance is not dead. It's merely being postponed, relegated to a safe space where both people need to build a certain degree of comfort and trust before they go bleeding heart bonkers for one another. And perhaps that's actually a good thing. The worst movies and songs of all time for relationships are, honestly, romantic films, Disney cartoons, and love songs. And not because I hate romantic movies. I love romantic movies or love songs, but because it teaches you that love and romance ends the moment you get married. And that's the end of the story, and there's nothing more after that. Love and romance and marriage is the beginning of the starting line for couples. This is where the work begins, and then you go into that marriage expecting the Disney experience. When you start to have problems, and when you have to work for that relationship, and when you have hard times in your relationship, you say, "Oh no, I think I picked the wrong person," because your relationship is not as magical as Disney cartoons presented to you. Let me tell you the truth. Please wake up from your fantasies, because marriage is hard. A relationship is hard. Marriage is one of the hardest things on the planet, and in the same time is also one of the most fulfilling, beautiful things on the planet. But we've got a generation, maybe 3 generations, conditioned to believe marriage should feel effortless and magical. Please wake up from your fantasies. Wake up from idealizing romantic love. And welcome to my exploration of how romanticism, a movement once celebrated for its beauty and passion, might have inadvertently shaped our modern, often misguided perception of love. To begin, let's travel back to the late 18th century, when Romanticism emerged as a powerful cultural movement. It championed intense emotions and individualism, valuing personal freedom and the pursuit of the sublime. Romantic poets and artists painted love as an all-consuming, almost mystical force, idealized and unyielding. But what happened? These grandiose ideals clash with the realities of everyday relationships. Please do not have unrealistic expectations from your lover or from yourself. This is where the seeds of conflict were sown. Romanticism, with its emphasis on perfect love stories, may have set us up for unrealistic expectations. Scientific studies suggest that this dissonance can lead to dissatisfaction and disillusionment. Modern psychology tells us that the notion of one true love or soulmates can create pressure to find a perfect partner, leading to disappointment when reality doesn't match the fantasy. So, how do we navigate this landscape shaped by centuries-old ideals? How do we navigate this egregore? My answer is by understanding and reflecting on these influences. We can begin to redefine love in healthier, more realistic terms. Instead of searching for perfection, embracing imperfection and growth becomes key. Consider the impact of romanticism as a dual-edged sword. While it enriches our culture and arts, it also influences our expectations in ways that could be detrimental if left unchecked. Acknowledging this can empower us to reshape our perceptions, aligning them more closely with the realities of human connection. In conclusion, while romanticism has given us beautiful art and literature, its influence on our ideas of love may have led to some unintended consequences. By engaging with these concepts critically, we can foster a deeper, more nuanced understanding of love, one that values authenticity and empathy over unattainable ideals. Since around 1750, we have been living in a highly distinctive era in the history of love that we can call Romanticism. Romanticism emerged as an ideology in Europe in the mid-18th century in the midst of poets, artists, and philosophers, and it's now conquered the world. No single relationship ever follows the romantic template exactly, but its broad outlines are frequently present nevertheless and can be summed up as follows. So in Romanticism we have marriage, love and sex, end of loneliness, feelings, no practicalities, and we also have accepting the other as it is and not trying to change them. Romanticism is deeply hopeful about marriage. Romanticism took marriage that was seen till 1750 as a practical and emotionally temperate union and fused marriage together with a passionate love story to create the lifelong passionate love marriage. Along the way, Romanticism united love and sex. Previously, people had imagined that they could have sex with characters they didn't love and that they could love someone without having extraordinary sex with them. Romanticism elevated sex to the supreme expression of love. Frequent, mutually satisfying sex became the bellwether of the health of any relationship, without necessarily meaning to. Romanticism made frequent sex and adultery into catastrophes. Romanticism proposed that true love must mean an end to all loneliness. The right partner must understand what the lover wants without even needing to speak to the partner. They would intuit our souls. Romantic put a special premium on the idea that our partner might understand us without needing to say anything. Romanticism believed that choosing a partner should be about letting oneself be guided by feelings rather than practical considerations and rationality. You know you're in love because you have a special feeling which is not rational, not practical for any relationship. Romanticism has manifested a powerful disdain, disrespect for practicalities and money. It feels cold, or as we say, unromantic to say, you know you're with the right person because the two of you make an excellent financial fit, or because you cherish the things like dining, etiquette, and attitudes to punctuality. Romanticism believes that true love is synonymous with accepting everything about someone else. The idea that my partner or myself may need to change is taken to be a sign that the relationship is almost over. You're going to have to change is a last-ditch threat. It's like the end of the world in Romanticism. This template of love is a historical creation. It's a hugely beautiful and often enjoyable one. But we can state boldly, Romanticism has been a disaster for relationships. It's an intellectual and spiritual movement which has had a devastating impact on the ability of ordinary people to lead successful emotional lives. The salvation of love lies in overcoming a succession of errors within Romanticism. These are some of the myths of Romanticism. 1. That we should meet a person of extraordinary inner and outer beauty and immediately feel a special attraction to them and they to us. 2. That we should have highly satisfying sex, not only at the start, but forever. 3. We should never be attracted to anyone else during our whole life. 4. We should understand one another intuitively without any kind of verbal or non-verbal communication. Romanticism is also the belief that everyone has one person destined for them, a soulmate, and all you need in life is to find that one person, and after that, everything will be ideal. Marriage will automatically be happy, children will be obedient and brilliant, job will be fulfilling. And that we should give up all our goals and plans if that is the only way to be with our soulmate. Don't we need an education in love? We may need to train to become a nurse or a teacher, but not a healthier lover. We will understand that along the way, by following our feelings, we should have no secret and spend constant time together. Work won't get in the way if we are romantic. We should raise a family without any loss of sexual or emotional intensity. Our lover must be our soulmate, our best friend, co-parent, co-chauffeur, accountant, household, manager, chef, maid, nurse, sex worker, and spiritual guide. What was once offered by an entire village, now in the nowadays romantic love, it should be offered by only one person. Don't you find this impossible? So this is Romanticism, and many of us would love the romantic fantasies to become reality in our relationships. But now I'll offer you a cold shower, and maybe some of you will hate me for this, but I'm here to tell you the truth. Are you ready for my cold shower? Please don't hate me. If we question the assumption of the romantic view of love is not in order to destroy love, but to save it. We need to piece together a post-romantic theory of couples, because in order to make a relationship last, we have to be disloyal to the romantic emotions that get us in the first place. We need to replace the romantic template with a psychologically mature vision of love we might call classical, and which encourage in us a range of unfamiliar but hopefully effective attitudes. For example, that is normal that love and sex may not always belong together, especially after 10 years of marriage and kids asking for constant attention. Let's be realistic and let's admit that after a few years of marriage, It's normal that sex may not be as passionate as it was in the beginning of our love relationship. It's normal that discussing money at the beginning of the relationship upfront in a serious way is not a betrayal of love. It's normal that realizing that we are rather flawed and our partner is too is a huge benefit to a couple because it increases the amount of tolerance and generosity in circulation. It's absolutely normal to believe that we will never find everything in one person or they in us. Not because of some unique flaw, but because that's just the way human nature is, imperfect. It's normal that we need to make amends and often rather artificial sounding efforts to understand one another, to communicate. It's not romantic, but it's normal that intuition can't get us where we need to go, and spending 2 hours discussing whether bathroom towels should be hung up or can be left on the floor is neither trivial nor unserious. There is a special dignity around issues of laundry and timekeeping. All these attitudes and more belong to a new, more hopeful post-romantic future for love. To answer my initial question about consumerism and romanticism, our society today makes us believe that only romance is the sure way to love in a relationship, because when we have unattainable ideals such as the ideas of romanticism, we are unhappy in our love relationship. When we are unhappy in love, we buy more to try to fill in the void left by the loved one who left us. So, unhappiness in love makes us greater consumers, which helps billionaire companies to be even more prosperous. Their prosperity is based on our unhappiness, but also on the holidays they invented to be even more consumerist when we celebrate Valentine's Day or other holidays when we have to buy. It's just about money. But because I told you this secret, you will be more balanced in love and you will no longer follow all the unattainable ideals of romanticism. Is that right? Will you follow my suggestions and no longer believe in all the fantasies of romanticism? Let's not fall in love with the idea of falling in love. Hollywood's romanticism destroyed love, but they could not kill the concept of love itself. Romantic movies, songs created unrealistic expectations. People go into their first relationships with these huge expectations. They get hurt a few times and then they decide to never ever have a love relationship again, which is a wrong decision. Let's be balanced and let's be rational, realistic in our relationships. And let's combine our common goals, our common values with just a little romance. So, what do you think? Is romantic love ruining our relationships? Does romance teach us to love in an unrealistic way? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk about it. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like it, subscribe for more content, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. If you are interested in cultivating a stronger and healthier relationship, follow my videos called How to Find Your Compatible Lover, Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. Follow my future videos because I'll speak about other amazing subjects regarding love relationships. My personal advice: be unique, be special, be different so that you make the person that you are dating with, that you are married with, insatiable for you. My love for you, insatiable. Is your love for your lover insatiable? If you subscribe to my channel, you will motivate me to create videos with even better content. So please, subscribe right now to my YouTube channel, Alice, the key of your relationship. Like and share this video to people who might need it. You can also follow me on Facebook, and my Instagram is Alice, key of your relationship, without any space between words. I can't wait to see you in my next videos. Thanks for watching, and I'm counting on you because we'll see in the future videos, right? Kisses, goodbye!
Alice is the key of your relationship. She's the one who makes your heart just skip. In her eyes you see your world unfold. With her touch your story's always told.